What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex, and I'm joined by a very special guest. We had gotten together during the Hogwarts Legacy crazy, time that we've been in, and I thought, this guy knows his stuff. He's into stuff that's outside of Hogwarts Legacy, and I've been doing this series where we take a look at, a game and talk about where it's going to go for the next year. And The Last of Us Factions is definitely something to look at. So I got Nightly Nerd with me here, and we're going to talk a little bit about Factions. When could we see it? What will we see? What are we expecting from a game like this? So make sure, you guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to his channel. His link will be in the description. If you just click his @ sign, it'll take you right to him. Nightly Nerd, thank you so much, man, for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here, talk about The Last of Us Factions with you. Hopefully, we can continue having conversations like this. And
Yes.
who knows, maybe even talk some reviews for The Last of Us TV show.
Yes. Oh, yes. The show. Oh my God. I mean, we're about to enter the another era, really, of The Last of Us. It's been a little while, but here we are. So let me ask you, in terms of, let's just kind of get right to it. When do you think this releases, and when do you think we'd actually see it? Do you think this is a 2020? Because I've always assumed it's a 2023 game. There is some people that don't think that it's going to actually make it into next year, but I do. Well, what do you think?
After looking at some of the information, reviewing it for this specific conversation, I think the earliest we'll see it is June 2023.
Okay.
Why June 2023? 10-year anniversary of The Last of Us 1 with The
Yes.
Last of Us Factions original. So the 10-year anniversary, we could see it in June, both The Last of Us 1 and The Last of Us 2 released in June. So I think that would be a safe bet, but it could be pushed back to 2024 since we haven't seen really anything for it.
Yeah. I mean, in some way, I definitely do understand it. We're really with that approach, right? That I feel like it's got what it takes to come out this upcoming year, but then, yeah, you look at it on the other side and you say, well, technically, they haven't shown us a single thing, right? It's a very opposite of what Sony would do to just, show it February, March kind of thing, and to have it come out, a few months later. I guess maybe Miles Morales, they did that with, on the PS5, but that was a very special, era where, announced the PS5 in June. It comes out that following or the same November, so there's a very quick turnaround. But I do think it's very possible that there's a quick, because we know, right, Sony's got all these plans, all these live service free-to-play games, which we'll get into for the Last of Us. And I think we're going to start getting one or two of them every year. And I do think The Last of Us would probably kickstart that or be one of the first ones. But speaking of free-to-play, I do think we're on the same page, but we can maybe go a little bit more into it. Do you think this is a free-to-play live service game? And then, going forward, just kind of, spitballing some theories or predictions. Like, what do you expect to see from a game like this? Like, how do you think they do live service? They've been pretty secretive of to what the game even is in the first place, right? Because it's going to have a story, but it is multiplayer. And Factions did have like that cool little thing they did with the story. So, like, what are you expecting from a game like this?
I think we do agree, right, that it will be free to play.
Yeah.
And I think they will have microtransactions in it. If you look at both Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3's multiplayer, and then going forward into Factions and Uncharted 4, Uncharted 2, 3, 4, and Factions, all of them, they all have some sort of microtransaction, whether it be skins or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest question is, will there be a battle royale or will there be an extraction mode?
Yes.
So when you look at the announcement of it from Summer Games Fest 2022, it did have sort of like a dust cloud around the picture. That is leading many to believe that there will be a closing circle or zone, which would be that battle royale. So I think there will be, like you said, a story, some sort of multiplayer. But I think if I had to pick one, I would want more of the extraction shooter, and I think it would be more like The Division, but
Yes.
it might be a battle royale also.
Yeah, it's like I remember when this thing was first announced, and I had thought like, what kind of multiplayer game could actually be? And I kind of settled on, well, why not do all of them, right? You're Naughty Dog, you're trying to make an impact, and I mean, like I said, I mean, you can't really shy away from it. Sony is doing something different, and you can't do, I would hope, you can't do, these live service free-to-play games like everyone else is doing. You're Sony, you're a big dog, right? You're trying to come in and put in your influence into this circle that you've never really been a part of. And also, Naughty Dog, you're going into this thing you've never done before as well. So I feel like it should be a thing where you'll have it, almost like a COD where it's just there's so many different modes, there's so many things going on.
Hmm.
It gets confusing for me, but I've been out of the Call of Duty game for like a decade. But for factions, I mean, yeah, I don't know how the story's gonna. I mean, if they did literally the same thing as they did for the the first one, I'd be fine with that. But if we're talking literal cutscenes and stuff like that, I mean, that's fine. But Battle Royale needs to be right. So some sort of shrinking map, and you're
Totally
the
agree.
last one there. I would like when part two first came out, and I've had controversial thoughts both ways really on part two. But one of the things I really liked was pitting the infected against humans, and just kind of that idea that in several of those kind of open playground areas you get to do with Ellie or Abby, the experimentation you can have with just kind of being with both of them. I'd love to see some sort of mode where you can kind of pit them against each other, or their AI, or their other people. Like, can we even get a mode where you play as infected? Like, I really think just kind of go, if you're going to make it, if you're going to make an entire game, right? Because it is an entire game, free-to-play multiplayer. I mean, just try all these different kind of modes that maybe individually would be their own thing, but you're Naughty Dog, you're Sony, you're trying to make a mark, have it be all of them.
I agree. I think you and I connect on the fact that Uncharted and the Uncharted series is one of the greatest franchises ever
Yes.
made. And if you haven't played PlayStation, you just wouldn't understand that, because the whole story of Nathan Drake is fantastic. But you talk about that so much in relation to The Last of Us because it carries over with the same developer, same company, same everything.
Yeah.
So when you look at Uncharted 3 and 4, they had a survival mode, even though Uncharted 4's survival mode or PvE mode was added later on.
Yeah.
I think it fits the world of The Last of Us so well with all that infected. I never even thought about, which is a good point you made, an infected mode where
Yeah.
you could be the infected. I know Call of Duty does that fantastic. It's really fun. Usually comes out about the October time during the holidays around is it Halloween?
Yeah.
And I think it would just fit so well in this world, and that's why I've never really understood why they didn't do at least a PvE. They had the PvP with The Last of Us 1, but why not add even a PvPvE or a PvEVP, whatever you want to consider it, where you versus players versus the AI. It
Yeah.
would just be a fantastic game mode to add.
Like if you, yeah, I mean, piggybacking right off from that, like if you look, and I don't know what the official like level is or what the name is, but it's the mansion. It's when you're with Ellie at the very end of part two, and it's the huge mansion. There's like the pool outside, and they have infected like chained up, and you can shoot the chains to like let the infected go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and they do a real, again, like that's the pro. I think whether you disagree with the story or not. The pro of The Last of Us Part 2, I really think the level design is phenomenal, and the experimentation you can do. But I mean, just imagine dropping into that, and you have humans that you have to worry about, and they are dangerous. And you also have the infected that you can leave alone, or you can unleash them, and then it gets more chaotic. But then you also have other people, actual people that you're firing against in a team deathmatch kind of thing. I think it would work
Right.
so well. And like you said, I would have liked to seen that a little bit earlier on. But I think for what it was, The Last was Part 1 or Last was 1, or when it originally came out, Factions was awesome. I remember not thinking literally anything of it leading in, much like Uncharted. They're kind of like throw in things. You're not getting the first Last of Us or Uncharted 2, 3, so on for the multiplayer, but they are rock solid things. They're just modes that they have in them. They're really fun. So I have a lot of hope that, and we'll talk, and this may be one of the final things we say, besides the idea of microtransactions and this being the first time they'll also do that kind of, well, they've done microtransactions, but to be able to rely on them, right? This is going to be the first time they've gone this deep into it. If they nail that, I don't want to say like this is like a slam dunk easy thing because I'm going to jinx myself, but I really feel like they got something very special with this. It's just how they kind of nail it. So in terms of maybe like a potential negative, how are you feeling about the idea of them making money from this and how they would do that?
I think you and I kind of touched on it right before we started recording, and my one negative is I don't think they can mess this up.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I don't think they have the room to, because when you looked at Uncharted 3, it was such a good multiplayer for so many people. And then The Last of Us came out and it was revolutionary. You downed people, it was brutal, it was everything that you kind of wanted from that Last of Us game, from the single player part of the game.
Yeah.
It came out with Uncharted 4 and they carried everything over. So you had all the downs, which wasn't part of Uncharted. So as long as they stay in their lane and don't make it Uncharted or don't make it Call of Duty and keep to The Last of Us, because even The Last of Us 2 story was so controversial. I mean, yeah, it's widely regarded as one of the best games of all time, and it's everybody who played it loved it or has controversial opinions. I like it. I don't think it's better than The Last of Us 1, but it's such a good world to be in, and the characters are so amazing that you don't have the room to really mess this up. It's hard to. So with the microtransactions, I think it's going to be in there, and as long as it's free to play and it's not pay to win, as
Yeah.
long as it's just strictly cosmetic things like new gear, a battle pass, everything like that, I'm totally fine with it. Actually, one of the people from Fortnite who was widely considered the godfather of the battle pass
Yeah.
is now working at Naughty Dog. So there will probably be some sort of battle pass with it, and I'm totally fine with that. I love battle passes. I think it gives you something to play for every couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, that was I remember that was a pretty big hire in terms of taking really people that have been successful with this
Mhm.
kind of stuff, across the industry. Yeah, no, I'm with you. And again, this is I can't imagine. Like, I'm trying to think. Right? They said there's 10 of them. I believe that was the number. I really feel like The Last of Us probably is the first one, and so there's a
Right.
lot of pressure on them. I would say for sure, being the first time Naughty Dog's done it. This is Sony's first jump, because if this is a disaster, then coming out and saying, yeah, we got 9 more, like that is going to be atrocious. And also, I mean, they may not even do it as well as Naughty Dog in the future. Like, I think Twisted Metal may also be one of the free to play ones that's happening. So we'll see. They need to nail it on the first go, because then to come out and say, well, because it can either go one of two ways. You nail it and you say, hey, good news, we got 9 more that are this good. They're just different franchises. Or if it's awful, then you say, well, I mean, we were planning to do 9 more of these, and those are going to make people feel two very different ways.
Yeah, I think live service games have primarily been over on the Xbox side of things, and PlayStation hasn't really done them especially very well. I mean, you do have your bigger games, your Fortnite and everything like that, but taking these franchises that are so loved by all PlayStation fans and giving you extra time to play with them and extra ability to play with them, it's hard to mess up. So just give us everything. Give us Crash, give us Twisted Metal, give us Uncharted, Last of Us, all of them, because
Yeah.
we would all play them as long as they're decent. A 7 out of 10.
Yeah. No, man. Crash, I'm eagerly awaiting, but I'm also very, very worried about. But we'll talk about that in another one. Well, I want to thank you, man. Great first time of you and I kind of bouncing ideas off each other. Again, for the people watching at home, make sure you guys are subscribed to Nightly Nerd. Lots of Hogwarts stuff, but as proven, even just in this video, I mean, he knows his stuff, beyond Hogwarts. So thanks so much, man, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate everything you guys have done for me, and I love talking video games. So anytime you want me here, just give me a call.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you all at home for watching. Make sure you guys are subscribed to both of us, bell icons, all that good stuff, and we'll see you all on the next one.